Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into a really interesting topic from Daily Native English on YouTube. It's called How to Build Your English Brain. We've got all our notes and the video ready to go so we can pull out all the good stuff for you guys.
You know what's so cool about this video? It's not just like the typical tips and tricks. It goes beyond that and really tries to change how you think about English. Like rewiring your brain.
Yeah, I know, right? It gets pretty deep. So the first thing they talk about is thought chains. Have you ever heard of that?
I think so.
Basically, it means you just kind of let your mind wander in English. Like you don't force it. You just start with a word. For example, coffee. And then you see what other words come to mind. Maybe morning, then work, then like deadlines or something.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be perfect or like grammatically correct or anything. It's more about just making those connections in your head.
I think I get it. So like you're building these pathways in your mind with each word kind of triggering the next one, just like when you brainstorm in your own language.
Exactly. And there's actually a fancy term for that in cognitive science. Spreading activation.
Yeah, wow. I didn't know that.
Basically, the idea is that one thought can activate a whole network of related thoughts all at once.
That's interesting.
So by doing these thought chains, you're basically training your brain to think in English, not just translating individual words all the time.
Right. Like native speakers don't translate in their heads. They just think in chunks of meaning.
That's the goal, to get to that level of fluency.
It's like how kids learn their first language, right? They don't start with grammar rules. They just hear it and start making these connections naturally.
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, so I'll try it out right now, just for fun.
Sure.
Okay, let me think. If I start with travel, okay, airplane comes to mind. And then maybe new places. Oh, and food, for sure. And maybe getting lost, which happens to me more often than I'd like to admit.
That's awesome. So you're already doing it. And the more you practice this, the stronger those neural pathways become.
Yeah, it's like a workout, but for your English.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about something else that I think a lot of people struggle with. Have you ever been in a conversation and suddenly your mind goes blank? And all you can say is, yeah, or I don't know.
Oh my gosh, all the time. Especially when I'm nervous or trying to speak quickly.
I know, it's like you freeze up.
Totally.
Well, this video has a really cool tip for that. It's called Building an English Autopilot.
What's that?
So basically it means having a set of go-to phrases that you can use in any situation when your brain needs a second to catch up.
Oh, so you're not searching for the perfect words every time?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Like think of it as muscle memory for your English.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, it's like you're pre-programming your brain with these phrases so they become automatic.
I'm not sure if muscle memory is the right word, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's just a metaphor. But the idea is to make those phrases effortless. And the video actually has a free PDF with 50 common responses. Like, that's interesting, or let me think about that.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's super useful because sometimes we forget these simple phrases when we're trying to speak another language.
So true. I feel like that would really help me be more fluent.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's all about building that comfort level and not overthinking every single word.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, but I am curious. Is muscle memory really the best way to describe this?
Good question. I mean, it's a helpful analogy, but language learning involves different parts of the brain than like physical activity.
Yeah, true. It's not just about memorizing movements. It's about understanding meaning and using language appropriately.
Right. It's more about cognitive flexibility, being able to navigate different situations smoothly.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about fluency, but what about making your English more vivid and engaging? Like taking it to the next level.
Ooh, yeah, that's important.
And that's where the video gets really creative.
Okay, tell me more.
So they talk about the power of using metaphors and analogies.
Oh, I love metaphors.
Me too. So instead of just saying it's hot, you could say it feels like I'm in a sauna.
That's so much more interesting.
Right. It paints a picture in your mind.
And it makes you feel the heat.
Exactly.
The metaphors are powerful.
Yeah, they go beyond the literal meaning. And they help you convey ideas and emotions more effectively.
Totally agree.
And I think this is where the thought chain idea can really help. Because when you let your mind wander, you might come up with some really cool metaphors that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
That's a good point. It's all about making those unexpected connections, tapping into your creativity, and using language to paint a picture with words.
I love that.
Me too. You know what's interesting about metaphors it's not just a language learning thing. They're actually like a tool for thinking, for understanding the world better.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way.
Think about that famous Shakespeare line, all the world's a stage.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's so simple, but it makes you think about life differently.
Right, like everyone have their roles to play.
Exactly. And by using metaphors in your own language, too, you can start to see those deeper connections. Good point.
Okay, ready for the next tip from the video?
Yes, bring it on.
This one's a bit unexpected. It's called reframing your emotions in English.
Reframing your emotions.
Yeah, basically it means when you're feeling something strong, you try to put that feeling into words using English.
So like instead of just feeling frustrated, you would say, I'm frustrated because...
Exactly. You're linking that emotion to the English words that describe it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Kind of like that Sapir-Whorf hypothesis.
What?
It's a theory that says language can shape how we see the world.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty deep stuff.
So by naming our feelings in English, we're actually changing how we experience them.
In a way, yeah.
I never thought about it like that.
It's like building an emotional vocabulary in English.
Right, like giving those feelings a label.
Exactly.
It's like when you learn a new word for a feeling you've always had, but you never knew how to express it before.
Right. It gives you a new perspective. And the video also talks about using affirmations in English, like, I am confident in my English speaking abilities.
Oh yeah, affirmations are great.
They can really boost your confidence.
Yeah.
And rewire those negative thoughts.
Totally.
Because when you believe in yourself, you're more likely to take risks and push yourself outside your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And that's where the real growth happens.
Okay, ready for the last tip.
Hit me with it.
This one is all about taking action. It's called simulating English-only situations.
Simulating? Like, what do you mean?
Basically, you role play everyday scenarios in your head,
Oh, okay.
but entirely in English.
So like I'm pretending I'm at a restaurant, ordering food in English.
Exactly. Or like giving directions to someone, or even dealing with an emergency like your phone not working.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's about putting yourself in those situations where you have to think on your feet and react in English.
Without relying on your native language.
Right.
And I love that they suggest pausing online videos and imagining how you would react in that situation.
That's such a good idea.
It's like turning everyday life into a language learning opportunity.
Totally. You're practicing those default responses and getting comfortable with using English in different contexts.
Okay, so to recap the 5 takeaways for building your English brain, we have thought chains, building an English autopilot, using metaphors and analogies, reframing emotions in English, and simulating English-only situations.
That's it.
Wow, each one tackles a different aspect of language learning.
They all work together to create a more holistic approach.
I love that. And it's not just about memorizing rules, it's about building a mindset and creating a more immersive experience.
Yeah, like training your brain to think in English.
Not just translate.
Exactly.
You know what really stood out to me about this video? It's the emphasis on having fun with language.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's not about being perfect or sounding like a textbook
It's about expressing yourself.
and enjoying the process,
Because when you're having fun, you're more likely to stick with it.
even when it gets tough.
Language learning can be challenging.
So finding ways to make it enjoyable is key.
Definitely.
Okay, but here's a thought. Something the video didn't explicitly say, but I've been thinking about it ever since.
What is it?
We talked about how using metaphors and analogies can improve our English. But do you think the reverse could be true?
What do you mean?
Like, could you consciously, using metaphors and analogies in our own native language, make us better thinkers and communicators overall?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right, because metaphors aren't just about language.
They're about making connections, seeing patterns, understanding complex ideas.
So even though we're focusing on English here,
Yeah.
these techniques could benefit us in all areas of life.
I think so. It's like a positive feedback loop. The more you practice thinking creatively in one language, the more it spills over into other areas.
Well, this whole deep dive has really made me think, I'm definitely going to be trying out these techniques, especially those thought chains. I feel like I could do that anywhere, you know?
Yeah, it's so easy. And you can see where your mind goes. It's kind of fun.
It's like a mental adventure.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening, what do you try first? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear about your experiences.
Yeah, share your thought chains with us, or your favorite metaphors, or even those autopilot moments.
We're all in this together, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes just hearing what other people are doing can give you new ideas.
totally. It reminds us that we're all learning and growing, and there's no one right way to do it.
That's what makes it so exciting. Always something to discover.
Well said. So until next time, everyone, keep those brains buzzing, keep those conversations flowing, and keep exploring the world of language.
Happy learning, everyone.